Hello friends, welcome back to the data structures. In the previous session, we started with the two-dimensional array and I explained how to store the two-dimensional array in the memory and how we retrieve the elements of it later. In this video, I'm going to talk about the other type of two-dimensional array, that is low triangular matrix. So in this video, I'm going to discuss what is low triangular matrix, how to store the elements of low triangular matrix in memory, and how to retrieve them later. So let's get started. So what is the low triangular matrix? First of all, it is an n by n matrix, means in the low triangular matrix, the number of rows are always equal to the number of columns. Let's assume n here. So let me take an example here where I have 4 rows and 4 columns numbered from I is equal to 0 represents the row number and j represents the column number. So here is the example of low triangular matrix. The speciality of the low triangular matrix is all the elements above the principal diagonal of the matrix are 0. Means the value of those cells will be always 0. So technically speaking, wherever the value of I is less than j, the value of that particular cell will be 0. So if I talk about this cell, the value of I is 0 and the value of j is 1. So 0 is less than 1, so the value will be 0. 0 is less than 2, value is 0. 0 is less than 3, the value is 0. Similarly, if I talk about this cell, I value is 2, 2 is less than 3, the value is 0. So in short, all the elements above the principal diagonal are going to be 0 and all the elements of the principal diagonal and below, the user has power to store these elements and retrieve it from the low triangular matrix. So eventually, what we are going to store is the low triangular matrix elements and not actually these zeroed elements in the memory. If you try to store this entire matrix in memory unnecessary, you are going to waste the memory space in storing those values which are actually going to be 0. So the problem is, why to store this 0? Why don't we actually store the elements, these elements? If I count these elements, it's nothing but 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, total is 10. So instead of storing the 16 elements in the memory, we are just going to store these 10 elements in the memory somehow. So here's the formula for calculating the size of the matrix. So in the first row, 1 element, in the second row, 2 elements, and so on. In the nth row, all the elements will be stored. So eventually the formula is n into n plus 1 by 2. If I put the value n is equal to 4 in this formula, what I get is 4 into 5, that is 20 divided by 2. The value is 10. So just now we have calculated 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 results in 10. From the programmer's point of view, this data structure is definitely the two-dimensional. Means if he wants to store the element or retrieve the element, he's always going to give the value of I and j. But to store this two-dimensional array in the memory, we have to solve the problem of how we can store this 2D array in the one-dimensional memory. We know that the memory is always considered as one-dimensional in the behavior. So this problem we are going to solve with the help of some storing techniques. We have already discussed in the previous session how to store the simple 2D matrix in the 1D memory with the help of row major order and column major order. So same concepts I'm going to use here also to solve the problem of how to store these 10 elements in the memory. So let me take this example here. And eventually I want to store this matrix into the one-dimensional memory. So I will need one-dimensional array to store these 10 elements. So first I'm going to declare the one-dimensional array of size 10. And how to calculate 10? Use that formula n into n plus 1 by 2. So once you know the size of the low triangular matrix, just allocate the memory for one-dimensional array and first store these 10 elements in the one-dimensional array. So how to store these 10 elements in one-dimensional array now? There are two ways, row major order and the column major order. We will discuss both the methods in details. And after storing these 10 elements in the one-dimensional array by one of the method, now it's just a matter of storing the one-dimensional array in memory. So eventually, from the user's point of view, from the programmer's point of view, the data is two-dimensional, but when it comes to storing in memory, it is one-dimensional data. Now let's look at the first method of storing these elements in the one-dimensional array. So let me take this example once again. Here, the problem is I want to store these 10 elements in one-dimensional array. And the first method says that store these 10 elements row by row. So first, in this one-dimensional array, the elements of first row by index if I talk, I is equal to 0. So whatever elements are present in the 0th row, those will be stored in one-dimensional array followed by the second row, third row, and the fourth row. So if you see the arrangement of these 10 elements in memory or the one-dimensional array, it is row by row. Let me mark with respect to I and j, what is the location in the one-dimensional array. So from programmer's point of view, if he says give me the element at the I is equal to 0 and j is equal to 0, means actually from the one-dimensional perspective, he is asking this element. Or if he says I is equal to 1 and j is equal to 0, it's nothing but this element we want to store or retrieve. Similarly, the third row, I value is 2, and the last row, the value of I is 3 and j is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So with respect to I and j, these are the locations at which the respective elements are stored in the 1D array. Let me again take the same example here. So I have shown the value of I and j. Let's consider this 1D array is loaded in the memory starting with the address location 36. Assuming that I am storing the integer elements in this array and assuming the size of an integer is 4 bytes, the address of the next element would be with the offset 4, that is 36 plus 4 will be 40. Similarly, 40 plus 4 will be 44, 48, 52, and so on. Now the question is, if the programmer says the I value is, let us assume that 3 and j value is 2. Now the question is how to calculate the actual address from the memory at which this particular element has been stored. So ultimately, we want to convert this value of I and j into the 68 here, right? So how can we derive this formula which converts the value of I and j into the memory location at which that element is stored? Now, if I consider this, if I want to calculate the address location of 3 comma 2, I know that 3 indicates here that before this row, the 3 rows have been stored in the one-dimensional array so far, and after that, this black colored row, that is fourth row here, is stored, right? So the value of I indicates the number of rows covered so far. And what will be the number of elements covered so far? In the first row, it is always going to be the one element. In the second row, two elements. In the third row, three elements, and so on. So the simple formula becomes 1 plus 2 plus 3 elements. If I talk in terms of I, it's nothing but 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to I. Right? You see, if I talk about this element, let us assume that 2, 2. What is the value of I here? 2. So means before this green colored row, two rows have been covered. So what will be the formula? 1 plus 2 only. Now, with the help of this 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus I, we calculate the number of elements present before this particular row. Now we want to calculate in this row. This means if I'm calculating the location for 3 comma 2 in this particular row, what is its location? Means before that, how many elements have been covered? So here I can see two elements have been covered so far, and after that the third element is we are interested in. So it is clearly given by the j. What is the value of j here? 2. 2 indicates two elements have been covered in this row. Giving other example, what is the value of j here? 3. So if I calculate location of 3, 3, looking at the value of j, I say that three elements have been covered in this row so far. One more time. What is the value of j here? 0. Let's talk about 3, 0 element, 3 comma 0. So since j value is 0 means before this element in this row, no element have been covered so far. Right. So in total, the 1 plus 2 plus up to I plus this j elements in that row. Considering one element takes 4 bytes. So how many bytes have been covered so far before this particular element? That is total number of elements into the size of one element. So I can say the location of I and j, here comes the generalized formula. Giving any value of I and j in this formula, I can get the address of the element with respect to I and j, right? Obviously, we have to add the base address. So if the first element starts at 36, and if I have 1 plus 2 plus 3, that is 6, 6 plus 2, that is 8. So in this particular example, 8 into 4, 32, and 32 plus 36. We have to add the base address to the total number of bytes covered so far. So 36 plus 32 bytes covered so far, and my location of the interested element is 68. So I call that as a retrieving formula. If I simplify this formula, what I get is base address plus, this is a series once again. So I can say I into I plus 1 by 2 plus j and whole bracket into the size of each element. Let's look at the implementation of this low triangular matrix. with the first method, that is row measure order. So let me assume that the n is equal to 20 as a programmer. You can take this as an input from user also. I'm just hard coding some value here. And I declare an integer pointer which will store the base address of the one dimensional array. That is the element of the first element in the one dimensional array. So let me first create the lower triangular matrix. I write a function here, create lower triangular matrix, and I pass the number of rows and columns present in the lower triangular matrix. So let me write this separate function here. So here, first I'm going to calculate the size of low triangular matrix. So as we said in the previous numerical, if I put 4 plus 5 divided by 2 is 10. So actually I want to allocate the memory for these many elements. And as I'm going to do the dynamic memory allocation, I had to provide the actual number of bytes to be allocated. So I simply multiply by the size of each element. It depends on you what type of data you are storing in each cell. So in my particular example, I'm going to store the integer value in each cell. That's why I say size of integer. So these total number of bytes will be allocated by the malloc function. And since it's just a one-dimensional array of integers, I'd have to typecast it and return the address. I store this address in the global variable x. So it's very simple to create allocate the memory for the low triangular matrix. Just calculate the total number of elements and accordingly, I'm going to allocate the memory. Now, once you allocate the memory, how to store the elements? Let's assume that integer ij and the value, and I ask the user which element, what is the value of I and j, means which element of the low triangular matrix in which you want to store this value. So user will provide the value of I, value of j, and at that I and jth location, we have to store the value provided by the user. So for that matter, I declare another function called as store element, to which I pass these three values, I, j, and actual value I want to store. All right. So first of all, I want to validate that what is the comparison of I and j. So if the I value is 0, sorry, if the I value is less than 0 or j value is less than 0 or I is less than j. See, having I value less than 0 does not make sense because the index number in the 2D matrix always starts with 0. Similarly, I have to just validate j. If it is given as less than 0, that's an invalid case. But let's assume that user has given a valid values of I and j. Now, as per the definition of low triangular matrix, we know that if the value of I is less than j, actually we don't want to store that element. Why? Because we are gonna just make the assumption that the value is always going to be 0 for that particular element. So if I less than j, then simply return. We don't want to store this value at all. But what if it is not 0? What if it is principal diagonal elements or the elements below that? Let me remind you, I less than j indicates this particular cell is above the principal diagonal. Now, if it is not above the principal diagonal, we are actually going to calculate the location of this element in the 1D matrix, 1D array, and then at that location, store the given value. So I'm going to use the same formula here that we have derived for the row measure order. So the formula is I into I plus 1 by 2. So the same formula I'm using. So with the help of this I and j, first I'll calculate how many elements are stored before this element in the one-dimensional array and just add the offset to it, right? For example, suppose the x offset is 36, right? And this formula evaluates to, let's say, 3. Then 36 plus 4 will be 40. 40 plus 4 will be 44, and 44 plus 4 will be 48. So actually the 48, the address will be stored in this variable location. All right. Remember that we don't want to multiply this by the size of every element because x itself I have taken as an integer pointer. So it is automatically going to add the offset every time we add the number of elements, right? And value at that once we get the location, value at that location is simply whatever provided by the user. So that's how with this simple procedure we store the element at the correct location in memory. Now what about retrieval? Retrieval is also the same. Let's say after some time user says that give me the element present at some value of I and j, and I want to retrieve this element. So I write another function called as get element at the location I and j. And for that, the logic will be entirely similar, the same that we have written for the store element function, right? But the only thing is we are just reading the value at that location. See, the conditions are same, everything is same, right? If the value of I less than j, then it's not actually the element because it is above the principal diagonal and simply return 0. But if it is below the principal diagonal or below, then we will calculate the number of elements, add it to the base address, get the location, and value at that location is our interested value and return the value. And finally, I give the user, here is your element is this particular value. Okay, now let's look at the second method of storing the elements of low triangular matrix in the memory. And the second method is column measure order, that is column by column. So these 10 elements, same example I'm taking, this 10 elements I want to store in one dimensional array. How can I do that? Now, according to column measure order, the first column will come, then the second column, third column, and the last column. So here, observe carefully. First column means j value is 0. So all these elements, orange colored, are first gonna store in one dimensional array, followed by the second column, third, and the fourth. Now we have to do the similar exercise for whatever we did for the row measure order. So here are the locations with respect to I and j. So here j value is 0, right? And these are the 4 elements of the first column. Similarly, the j value is 1, I value varies from 1 to 3. If I talk about the third column, it starts with 2, 2, element 96. So 2, 2 and 3, 2. So let me mark here 2, 2 and 3, 2. And finally, the element of the last column. Now the same problem we are going to solve, how to calculate this address, actual address of that element in memory using the value of I and j. Let me randomly take an element here. Let's calculate the address of I3 and J2. So I am interested in calculating the location 68. So how can we do that? So if you see, Before this particular green column, there are two columns covered so far, right? And let's first calculate manually. For this particular element, two columns have covered so far in the one-dimensional array. Means total how many elements are stored before this particular row? I can say total number of elements in the array, that is 10. 10 we have already calculated with the help of the formula n into n plus 1 by 2, right? So from total number of elements, subtract the number of elements from the right hand side. So if I look at the elements stored in the memory from the right hand side, the first column from the right hand side, from the left hand side it is the last column, from the right hand side it is the first column, right? So how many elements are there up to this row? So 1 plus 2, right? So total elements 10 minus 1 plus 2, that will give me the actual number of elements stored before this row, right? So if I talk in the variables, j value indicates the number of columns covered so far. So if you see 3, 2, what is the value of j? That is 2. So two columns have been covered so far, right? And here is the formula 10. 10's formula is the total size of matrix minus. Now let's start from the right hand side. If I start from the right hand side, it always starts with 1. So it will be 1 plus 2 and so on. So here I need to stop here because I'm interested in this calculation of 3 comma 2. So in general, if I talk, it is 1 plus 2 plus n minus j. Giving you the another example, let's say if I want to calculate the location of 2 comma 0. So you need to ask the question, how many elements are, how many columns are covered before this column? There are no columns covered. So what is the value of j? 0. So let's calculate from the right hand side. So if I calculate from the right hand side, it will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So it will be n minus j, j value is 0, right? So the series will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus n minus 0, that is n only. So 10 minus 10 eventually 0 means before this column no elements have been stored. Now what about this element in this particular column? Now if you observe, for 3 2, one element have been covered before that. So I can say I minus j. 3 minus 2, that is one element is covered so far. Let us take another example. For example, if I say I values 3 and j 0. So 3 minus 0 will be 3 elements have been covered so far, and after that this particular element is stored. Let's take another example. If I say 2 2, 2 minus 2 is 0, means this is the first element in that column. In other words, 2 minus 2 0. 0 elements have been covered so far in this particular column, right? So the simple formula to calculate the number of elements covered in this particular column is I minus j. So let me write the entire formula now. It is the number of elements covered before this column plus the number of elements covered in this column. So before 3 comma 2, these many elements are covered before that. And once I get these many elements are covered, it becomes simple to calculate the location. So let's consider y elements are covered so far given by this formula. Once I have the number of elements, let's assume that the one element takes 4 bytes. So the location of ij is given by the base address plus number of elements into 4 bytes each. So here if I calculate how many elements are covered, 4 plus 3, 7 plus 1, that is 8. 8 into 4, that is 32. And just add the base address, 36 plus 32, that will be 68. Okay, so let's look at the implementation of low triangular matrix now using the column measure order. It's very similar to the row measure order, but just the formula will change. So let me again take the same program here, n is equal to 20, number of rows and columns in low triangular matrix, and the base address star x. So create low triangular matrix, similar function I have taken. So there is no change in the create low triangular matrix function. Why? Because it's just a allocation of these many total elements from the low triangular matrix. But now how to store these elements using column measure order? So I get the input from the user that you tell me at what value of I and j you want to store the value you will as per your need. So I first take the input I, j and the actual value to be stored, and I write a function here again, store element. And this validation is similar. I is less than j, invalid case, j is less than 0, invalid case, I is less than j means it's an element above the principal diagonal, and we know that we don't want to store it. So this logic remains same whether you are using the row measure or column measure order. But actually when it comes to the storing of the element, the formula will change. Now here the formula is whatever we have derived the formula, total number of elements plus just add the base address. And that gives me the actual memory location of the element, and at that location store the value. And now what about retrieval? Retrieval is same as the storing of an element. You have to just say same formula I have to use, but instead of storing the value at that location, once I get the location, just retrieve the value, read the value from that location. So I say value at that location, let me read it in the local variable value, and I return just the element. So in other words, I can say whatever implementation I have shown you for both column measure order and row measure order is dynamic memory allocation for the low triangular matrix. In simple words, I can say it's a dynamic low triangular matrix. And that's how we reach to the end of this topic, low triangular matrix. In this topic, we learn how to store the elements from the matrix, but not all the elements from the matrix. So actually storing the sparse elements means few elements from the matrix into the memory, and how to retrieve it later using the formula. As we have the low triangular matrix, you can also learn how to store the upper triangular matrix. In the upper triangular matrix, the principal diagonal and above elements exist, and all the elements below the principal diagonal are 0. So try on your own how to store these elements of upper triangular matrix using row measure order and column measure order, and for each of the method try to derive the retrieving formula. In the next session, we are going to start with the next data structure, that is stack. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment box. Have a great day.